Hey everyone, my name is Vicky Simos and I'm the founder and host of the Boxer Within podcast. In this series, I will be chatting to those who care for young people on the spectrum with mental health issues and developmental issues. We will discuss their struggles, learn more to understand about their challenges and the joys that goes with looking after the vulnerable. We will also discuss the impact that martial arts has had on these young people. Lastly, I will also invite experts to share their opinions. We will discuss the impact that martial arts has had on these young people. I will also invite experts to share their opinion on the topic. If you would like to know more, reach out and follow me, Vicky Simos, on all social channels. To learn more about my approach with martial arts and mental health, please visit the website on the screen. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe and tune in for the next episode of the Boxer Within podcast.
Okay, and welcome to the Boxer Within podcast. Dr. Selena Bartlett joins me. How are you going today?
I'm great. How are you, Vicky? Thanks.
Good, thank you. Good, thanks for joining me. I'm going to have a few questions for you, but I'm hoping it will be a bit more conversational than, interview questions. So let's just start with your personal journey. Reading through your bio, you're originally trained as a pharmacist. What sparked your shift into neuroscience?
So my sister, she was in a lockup ward in 1989, and I was in there with her, and I was doing a pharmacy degree. I was halfway through my honours, and my mother and I went in there with her, and it was one of those pretty much what you see in the movies, but this was just 1989 in the north of Brisbane, in a place called Rosemount. And in that moment when she was catatonic, sitting in a corner, and the doctors looked at us and said, it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, and this is lifelong, and she'll probably never get over this. And also the conditions of where she was, half naked people, padded cells, that kind of thing. I was really in shock, and I was quite young. I guess I was, can't remember exactly, 1989. Anyway, I have to do the maths on that. Anyway, in the moment, in this very specific moment, I'll never forget it, as everyone knows about these moments. And I thought, we clearly don't know how the brain works, because this treatment seems very traumatic, because I knew what she went in there with, and she was very young, and she wasn't violent or anything like that. And so from that, I won't go through the whole details, but to say I retrained, did my PhD in neuropharmacology. Then I did then I moved to Canberra and worked at the John Curtin School for 6 years as a postdoc, where I became a neuroscientist. So I did developmental neurobiology. So this is focusing on the inside of neurons and how they connect and all the mechanisms. And then I ran out of tools there, and I got very lucky because we could see inside the brain, because we had all these fluorescent dyes then. But then we kind of ran out of tools for the lab I was working in, and I moved to America for nearly 12 years, and I ran a research lab there, trying to keep thinking, if I just understand the brain a bit better, I can come up with better drugs and all of that. And then I came back, and in that transition, I kind of learned all about neuroplasticity and early life experiences and multi-generational transmission. And then everything just went, now I understand what happened and why. And then my sister had already taken her life by that stage.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
In 2006. Thank you. She lives, her apartment is not far from where I live now, and I run past it a lot every day. And but my work since that time, that understanding has really shifted into neuroplasticity healing and applying this lens to lived experience. And I learn every day, because the science keeps changing. And even the new focus in my own lab and life is really about the connections between us, which I think you understand, Vicky, very well through boxing, helping people. And that new neuroscience that we can now measure, I think, is very powerful. And I think in this moment of time, we need this kind of joint collective wisdom of bringing people together to see that we can't do this alone. We're in this journey together. And people, and my sister could have really done with a lot of this support. But as you probably know, people that have mental health struggles, they actually get isolated, they get treated really poorly, and they kind of get othered. And which makes the whole thing worse. So that's been my life's journey, and it continues today in all sorts of new, amazing ways. And I'm just written a new book. I haven't told you about this yet, but it's called Thriving Minds in the Age of AI. It'll come out in the next month or so, because this AI moment is really transforming and scaring people, and people are really nervous. So I thought, well, and because of my work at QUT as well in academic integrity officer, and this kind of dichotomy that's now existing between, do we use the tools, do we not use the tools, what does it mean for us? So I've just applied my knowledge around that area now to help white collar professionals navigate this really tough time.
Yeah, wow. Over your 30-year career, what has been the most surprising thing you've learned about the human brain?
That it's probably the most surprising thing is probably the thing I'm learning now.
Well, that's good.
But that doesn't answer it very well for you. I think there's so many surprising moments in my career, and I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world. And I feel horrible that my entry into this world came because of my sister's suffering. And then, of course, then you get to see everybody suffering. And that's been heartbreaking. But and that we don't want to solve the actual root causes, and we keep perpetrating it through the generations. That's my heartbreak. But at the same time, I recognize that we're all on this together, and there's a journey involved. And I'm changing my mindset around that kind of heartbreak to turn it into hope and opportunity. I think there's been so many moments, but I'll just hit 3 because I think it also foundationally helps us understand how neuroscience has transformed our understanding of the brain, behavior, and mind. And that is in the 90s with the invention of fluorescent dyes that allowed us to see inside the human brain for the first time in history. That's huge. Also, when we were able to sequence DNA because of the discovery of DNA and its 3D structure. They're 2 remarkable inventions that have really changed our understanding of the brain. And then the next one was really the work of Andrew and Folletti and many others, demonstrating that adverse childhood experiences and those that are inherited over many generations impact the brain, that lead to over time. And that's a whole other big conversation we could have. But
you've answered a few questions there that I had, so that's great. Keep going.
Yeah, leads to the outcome, of all these mental illnesses and all these labels that we give people, and some of that's all really true through genetics, etc. But we're not able as a society to have the hard conversation around we shouldn't be abusing children, because this has very big impacts, and we can really do something about that.
Yeah.
And that conversation people shy away from, and I understand because it's family secrets and shame. But, I've been working hard to change that into a way, have the conversation, because without seeing it, we can't do anything about it. So that's huge. But the big, big one is, I'll never forget the day I was leaving I used to go to principal investigator meetings on Monday morning at 9 after dropping my babies at childcare. And you'd have to tell everyone what you've done lately, kind of thing. And of course, my focus as a pharmacist, medically trained, was, and my role there in California, at the University of California, San Francisco, was to develop drugs. And I had a big team of people doing that. And this woman who just started, she passed me in the corridor after one of these meetings, and she said to me, "Selena, do you really think that's the answer?" And I had spent 20 years and I had lots of funding and I had a big lab. And of course, I said yes. And she said, "Well, why don't you just come up to my lab?" And so I went up to her lab, and then she had these amazing experiments because the technology had improved. And this is called 2-photon calcium imaging. So we could actually see inside the human living brain and the neurons firing.
Wow.
And she showed an adult animal on a treadmill. You'd like this.
Yeah.
And she was able to map the adult brain synapses changing. And she could map it all the way back from showing me in real life, all the way back using electron microscopy to see that there was new synapses. And
wow.
Yeah, this is the adult brain changing. And at that point, this is the early 2000s. And at that point, a lot of the textbooks, and still it kind of happens a bit, but not as much, was that the adult brain couldn't change after the age of 25. And so that was kind of a bit eye-opening for me, and it really planted a seed, not in that moment. And this is the key that we struggle with, is just because you now understand something doesn't mean the world's going to understand something. And it took me a long time to shift my own mindset and shift my lab into that place of neuroplasticity. But that was really eye-opening, that. And then another time sitting in my QT lab, I had opened a brain fitness lab because I decided we needed to move away from mental health and illness into brain health and fitness, because we all have a brain and we can train it. And I remember reading all the papers around adverse childhood experiences and childhood maltreatment, and then understanding its really deep connection to mental health disorders, but the separation in time. And it was just like, oh, well, now I've worked it out. Now I know why my sister got her diagnosis. Now I know where it came from. Now I know why, people always used to ask me the questions like, you're from a big family, how come she ended up in that situation? And then I could all add it up backwards and understand myself more, understand my family more. And then the new work was demonstrating that these memories across many generations, called transgenerational epigenetic inheritance, has been shown in many species. So this is why memories, say, from the Holocaust, can implant themselves generations down the line, even if someone hasn't experienced the Holocaust. And so that's a strong example of, something that's very traumatic, but you can step back that to minor traumatic experiences adding up over time and how the brain remembers them. And so that for me was like everything. Now I understood what I went in to find, and now what are we going to do about it? And so that journey has been what I've been on for about 14 years now. And that's giving public lectures, writing books, running a lab on neuroplasticity, doing my own podcast called Thriving Minds. Any way I can democratize the information that I've learned, and many, many thousands of papers and other people have learned, how do we help the public? And I think it's now critical, Vicky, we're in a really critical moment that you need to work out really fast strategies for brain health and fitness. Otherwise, there's multiple levels of evolution taking place right now because of the AI technology has really, I would say, exponentialized. That's my new word. I made it up.
You're allowed.
It's changed everything, and really hugely. And people are hoping it hasn't, but I think it's kind of clear if you look at around. We're in a new place, and it's going to take a lot to bring people there.
Yeah. Just two things off what you were saying. The first is, do you want to explain to the audience what neuroplasticity is?
Yeah.
And then you've also mentioned about some strategies to help with the brain health, and maybe talk about some of those strategies that people can do or use.
And that's my life's work, and my own work, my own personal story. And I could give you my personal story after this, because I think it helps people relate, so they don't think it's just some scientific jargon that doesn't apply to them. But neuroplasticity just means that if you think about your muscle in your arm and you do a few reps, and you'd say do 5 reps, and then you repeat it every day or every second day over, say, a year, you're going to have bigger muscles, right? So that's a type of neuroplasticity in your arm, because that's being mediated by nerves interacting with your muscles and your bones. Well, the brain is very similar in many ways. It's not a muscle, but it's like a muscle, and it can be trained. And the way to think about this is, I don't know if anyone does Duolingo or learns a language or learning martial arts or whatever it is that you're just starting out and you've never done it before. It's very painful in the beginning, because all these horrible emotions come up of not being able to do something, and this is really hard, and I'm hopeless, and I can't do this. And
I'm nodding because I totally agree with everything you're saying.
Yes, and all of us have been in that situation, and I'm still in it, and this is what we need to do to ourselves our whole life, is these situations, by the way. These painful moments keeps our brain healthy. It's not the opposite. Lying on a beach definitely does not do it for you over the time. You might feel good in the moment, but it's got a long-term consequence. So neuroplasticity just means training your brain like a muscle, to put it simply. Use it or lose it is another way to think about it. And people are going to say, well, what do you mean? How am I meant to be doing that? How do I even know what my brain looks like? Where do I start? And I would say the most impactful place that you can start is to think about where your eyes are. And if they're on a phone, the first thing you wake up in the morning, then try and not do that and try and look out the window with a wide view and take in that wide view, because that's going to be turning down the stress systems in your brain, and not going onto your phone straight away, because as soon as you narrow your vision onto the phone, you're activating the stress systems in your brain, and the brain loves stress. It doesn't love it, but it just prioritizes it because it keeps, it's out scanning to make sure you're safe, basically. So neuroplasticity means trying something that you've never done before and repeating it, and just picking the smallest type of thing you can do and repeating it every day till you recognize, oh, I'm just doing it, I'm not even thinking about it. That's now an automatic habit, and the brain will do that for you. And I think that one's really, really powerful because of the way technology has taken over our attention. And if we don't expand our attention, then our brain starts to wither away a little bit and gets distracted. We lose focus. We can't make good decisions. We get more reactive. It's a really basic, really great place to start. And just to give you an idea, there are now 5.24 billion people on social media. I have social media accounts in the world. And the current global average time spent is 2 hours and 34.
Wow.
That's just social media. That's not laptops or work or anything. And if people are wondering why, I often think about productivity, but people saying there's no productivity. But if you add, that's a lot of time outside our normal, having to make dinner and bath and all the rest that we normally used to do. So where did that 2.5 hours come from? And then the second thing is the algorithms, as everyone's really aware now, because Meta's now has been sued and has to pay $600 million, which it's appealing. But the algorithms now have meant that humans have lost agency over what they're even viewing. And because our visual system and our eyes control so much of what we learn, do, regulate, it's wholly been designed to keep our eyeballs there, activating our stress systems, and then feeding us within under seconds the things we think we want to see. It's already worked it out. It's hearing these conversations. And when you have a conversation with someone, your next minute you'll get an ad for something that you just had a conversation about. You're like, oh no. So,
I know, that's amazing how that happens. Yeah.
Well, that's because it's the algorithms and AI is so powerful now. So I would say regaining agency over what you're putting your eyes on is probably the number one best 2026 strategy for managing stress, accessing neuroplasticity, improving your attention span, helping you with self-regulation, reducing depression and anxiety, because all the research papers are out now. And in fact, we're just putting in a grant right now. And one of my collaborators is a clinical psychologist named Dr. Danielle Einstein in Sydney. And she's been doing this for a really long time, trying to tell people don't bring in, her expertise is in anxiety. And she said, please don't bring in anybody until you actually understand that if you don't deal with the screen and the phone, you can't deal with your anxiety. There's just no point. There's another strategy she can apply without dealing with that first that will deal with normal anxiety.
The underlying issue, of course.
Yes, exactly. So this is why I focus right now on, you said, what's one tool? Without that tool and implement, you may as well just drink Coke and sit on the couch. You know what I mean?
I can't do both, so that's good.
Yeah.
Or don't want to do both. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think then also there's a decline in aging through using the social media and being so fixated where, we're losing brain function, let's just say that, and does it affect our aging?
Well, I can't give you the exact numbers on that because I can't tell you off the top of my head scientifically from a research paper, but I can tell you it's decreased our working memory. So our working memory is the part of the brain where you hold pieces of information in without writing it down or anything. And it used to be between 7 and, for people with really strong memory, 9 pieces of information at once. It's now at 4.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
that working memory is a very strong indicator. It's where it takes you to long-term memory. So recalling things and things like that. And now with that you've heard about cognitive offloading, that people are now using AI to do everything so you don't have to think and things like that. So I think just obviously use it or lose it. And neuroplasticity, what does it mean? Well, it means you have to be using things, right, to maintain its health. Because when you don't do your training for your sport or you're not practicing, it takes a while to get back again, doesn't it?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And if you don't train and then you get in, for example, to do some sparring, I'm likely to get knocked out because, the slow motion of lifting arms and blocking and all that sort of stuff, it becomes a slow twitch instead of a fast twitch, and because the brain hasn't caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a great example of what I'm talking about here. And so to talk about aging, I can't really tell you because it's kind of complex.
Yeah.
But from an aging brain perspective, I think it's kind of obvious. And you're seeing people just at the emotional level, people are so super reactive. And I don't want to call out Sydney, but I was driving around there recently and people are so reactive and they can't even have you stop with an Uber without beeping their horn. Do you know what I mean? Like people are on, something's going on, it feels like to me. And I just notice people are more angry and the news is everything's so much more clickbaity, trying to get your attention. And so they have to keep escalating the words that you're looking at to get you to click. Do you know what I mean? Everything's just got more amplified in terms of emotion because there's so much people demanding to get your attention. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say that. Do you think because there's so many, not so much resources, but there's so much choice out there that people don't know what they want?
Exactly. And they're just trying to get you to hit on, click on and stay because that's their business model. They've got to sell ads.
Yeah. Now, obviously, trying to improve our brain health is a positive thing, but what biggest misconceptions do you think people have about brain health? Because you can explain something to someone and, sometimes people don't believe it. Oh, that doesn't work. That's not going to work.
Oh, but people are always in those camps. This is what's happening always. I think when you say no to something, it's just a sign that it's an easy way out and you don't have to try. And that way, by resisting, it's called fixed mindset versus growth mindset in correct terms, but I see it as more neuroplasticity. And I also see it as individuals. So, for example, that if you had a brain that's experienced multi-generational trauma and different amounts of it, because everyone's really different, then your ability to activate what we're talking about here is much different to someone that's come from loving home, for example, with lots of resources and has a lot of privileges. It's much easier to access neuroplasticity compared to if you've had a lot of stress and trauma, right? Because what did I just say about the brain and how it wires it in over time and leads to many other neurological kind of things happening inside the brain. Of course, some people have other coaches or access all sorts of other things that protect them from some of that, and they have post-traumatic growth, for example. So there's no simple answer here because everyone's so different and what they've experienced. So what I think the solution that you're looking for is you just got to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to tell their story and be seen and heard, because I think the main thing that I've come to see, as you know, from my work called Being Seen, or the documentary Seen,
which I've started listening to, by the way, very good.
Yeah, is that's the answer. If you're not seen when you're young, you're going to spend the rest of your life looking for ways of being seen without you even realizing that's what you're doing, whether it's a big CEO, looking to get shareholder, whatever it is, money, houses, mansions. There's so many ways that people are looking to be seen, and down to ending up in jail, or, so many ways. And so that's why I keep kind of coming back to that. Why can't we tackle this issue of improving the life of, as best we can, providing opportunities, because it's a societal thing, it's not a family or an individual thing. How can we create better culture that we recognize that what we do affects the next generations? And how can we improve those environments, around our community, around food and safety? Because everyone needs shelter, food, and basically safety. and a good relationship to thrive. And so if we want thriving societies, this is where we should be putting a lot of our energy. But I think what I see, and you probably see, is that there's a few people getting richer and richer, and the extension down is becoming like a pipe rather than a triangle. So we're starting to see like an hourglass, aren't we, where we just have the people at the top and then people at the bottom.
It's almost like a bottleneck, right?
Yeah, it's becoming like that, and I'd like to see that change. And I believe in the power of human evolution and us coming together to ensure that we can protect each other. And the new neuroscience is really pointing to this collective wisdom, and we know it really works. Because how do bacteria fight antibiotics? They work in a biofilm. They join up together. They become a big force, and the antibiotics can't get them. And I think of us like that. So as we come more and more together, we can kind of create.
Oh, someone's frozen. Hello? Hello?
A better future for everybody.
Okay, you froze for a little bit there.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. My internet's been playing up lately.
That's okay. That's okay. Thank you for that. I was just going to say, in addition to, what we're talking about, or rather what you're talking about, what changes would you most like to see in how society approaches mental and brain health?
Kindness. So, and that sounds really trite, but
no, I think that's important.
It has a massive impact. And also recognizing that the world's okay because of huge, large, millions of little kindnesses that people like you, me, and everyone around us are actually doing. And that gets no airtime. And Vicky, when you were out in the street, have you ever seen someone hand someone something that's down and out? There's so many of these examples. So when I say kindness, and I'm making this into a movement because I think we really need it. I've interviewed Rachel Robinson and Brent, who run my summit, Adventure. You'd love this event, Adventure Therapeutic Solutions. And they take the most disadvantaged children that are in residential care on adventure camps and walk and talks in nature. And
very cool.
And she's had 19 years in child safety, and she's got great results and small organization. But what she does in one of these camps at the fire, one of the kids, they get to pick a Tim Tam, and she calls them her kindness Tim Tams. And when they take one, they have to think about one kindness that someone did to them during the day. And then they get to take the Tim Tam, but then they've got to give a kindness to somebody.
Oh, so I think I've heard something similar, but not with Tim Tams.
Yeah, I wrote it on my LinkedIn from my interview with her.
Yep, that's weird.
Yeah. And people were saying, I just took a packet of Tim Tams to work because it's so tangible. And I thought, wow, imagine if we could get kindness Tim Tams on all the shelves in Australia, in the supermarkets and into the workplaces. And it's so tangible where people can take one, give one, and do something. And there's people like Rachel in the world, people like you, many people in the world doing things that are brilliant to help make our world a better place. It just never makes airtime, and that's such a shame. But it has a brilliant impact on brain health and fitness. Now, you tell me, when you do something for somebody, you feel so good.
Yeah, 100%.
But the whole world's telling you that you shouldn't be doing that, in a way. I don't know if you get told that. Like, you get told that that's...
Well, you see it. It's not even... actions speak louder than words, and you see it now. I often have these conversations with my mum, who's staying with me at the moment, and, she goes back, she's 87 years old, so she thinks back of how kind and the family time and friends and neighbours all come together, and no one does that anymore.
Exactly. It's because that's where the 2.5 hours has gone.
Yeah. Right? Well, they didn't have social media back then, so maybe that's it too.
Exactly. It's a big impact. It's had a really bad impact on the world.
Yeah. But you're right,
I think it's going to go. Social media is going to drop off because AI is really going to take over, and it's way more powerful. So,
yeah, it seems to be. But on that note, for social media and screens, what role do you think parents, educators, and communities play in building healthy brains?
well, they're everything. They're everything. How many times have you, when you're working with someone in your business, or you yourself, how many times have you heard there was this one person that believed in me? That's why I'm here in front of you now. This is why I didn't end up in jail. This is why I became a teacher. This is why I chose my profession. Everywhere I go, and that's why I love giving talks to teachers and organizations like that, because I think they're the foundational ingredient of our country. Outside, obviously, parents and the community, teachers are on the front line, and they can really make a difference, especially if kids don't have anyone else that believes in them. So coaches, mentors, teachers, parents, people that believe in a child and make them feel seen for who they are, not for who they should be, but who they actually are, and look for potential inside them.
Yeah.
To help that come out. I call it the organic approach to raising people. Like, who are they? What are they here to do? How do we help them find it? And this is really hard because the whole programming is really about, you should do this, you need that, you've got to get there.
But I think you're right. It starts there. I mean, I had the same thing. I had a really great primary school teacher, grade 5, and we're still friends now. Like, I invited her to my 50th a couple of years ago, so I'll be devastated when she leaves this earth. And I've had probably 2 or 3 other teachers that made quite an impact. So doing what I do, although I'm a bit tough, like, I always explain why I do what I do, and these kids can see that, I'm doing it. So, I want you to see your potential. I want you to see what you can be, but be your best self. Don't do stuff for me. Do it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so powerful. But I think we don't get to realize how powerful we really are. Like, so you'll be impacting them as well. And also, I've come to see too, through podcasting and other things, is that you have no idea the ripple effect. So, for example, with the podcast I do with Rachel about my summit and the kindness Tim Tams, I had people write saying I've taken a packet of Tim Tams to my work.
I've actually got one in my house now. I actually bought the packet for my sister because she likes chocolate. So now that you're saying that, I've got to take it maybe to soccer tomorrow.
Yeah, but and try and make it tangible around.
Yeah, I might do that with my kids tomorrow night at training.
Yeah. Make it, you can have this, but think of one kindness and give one kindness.
Yeah.
So make it really big ripple effect in our world. Really, really. That's why I love this idea. I've been trying to get Arnott's to call me, and so we could do
that's a good idea.
A movement around it, so that we could actually also get Rachel's company funded for these disadvantaged kids who have everything taken away from them all the time. Anyway, and another thing that happened was a teacher called me and said, Selena, that podcast made me go and advocate to get these children out in nature. So this is what you're doing when you're doing these things that you just don't know, do you? Because it feels like you're speaking into a blank wall or something.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to start this, because especially like from what I do, working with kids on the spectrum, and how, they think differently to someone who hasn't got autism or ADHD. But I want people to understand from the parent's perspective, from a science perspective, from my own perspective, that these guys deserve kindness too. And you just got to, understand the way that they think and be kind towards them.
I love how you say that, because I was just with my daughter's birthday.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday to your daughter.
Thank you. And my birthday as well. But
happy birthday.
Yeah, we share 6 days apart. But I was watching her shows, and she introduced me to something called Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, yep, seen it.
Oh my God. I fell in love with this show because it's so authentically real. And I kept saying to Ella, oh my God, I wish the world could be, it's so straightforward.
It is. But there's another show called Austin. I don't know if you've seen that on ABC. And he's actually on the spectrum as well, but he's an actor, and he's always wanted to be an actor. And it's about his family, and it's really funny. It's a comedy, but he's such a great actor.
Yeah, I know. I just love it. Isn't this a new world? This wouldn't have existed very long ago.
No, that's exactly right. On that note of, talking about what we're talking, um, let me start with, you talk about the brain's ability to thrive at any age. We mentioned that earlier. What does thriving look like?
Thriving looks like living a life that's true to who you are.
That's great.
Yeah. And the way I frame this as an example is that my brother's eldest daughter has Down syndrome.
Okay.
And I would say she is really thriving.
Yeah.
So she just represented Australian Paralympics.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Swimming and gymnastics, but that was not how it was always going to be. And with the support of NDIS and many other things, she gets taken to, and I could go on and on about
Yeah.
and how she shows her medals and how she has just so many things. And I look at her and I think, wow, she is thriving.
Yeah. And it's funny with kids on the spectrum and Down syndrome, the one thing that I've noticed with all of them is this sheer determination. Like in my experience over the last few years, I teach them something, and whether they learn it in that session or they go away, they come back knowing it. And I just love that, because there's a lot of kids, a lot of adults out there that will try, doesn't work, well, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But I see this determination, it just, makes my heart explode.
And in this moment, the way I think about it is her parents created the conditions that allowed the opportunities for all of this to proceed. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't an innate talent or anything. Like maybe it was, but if it was exposed, because she got to go to all, whereas other people don't get the same opportunities.
No.
And so then I look at, so what does not thriving look like? Well, I've seen children that have had everything, very wealthy upbringings, the top universities, the best jobs, and they're not thriving. They're actually depressed. They're in therapy. They've been on all the top teams.
Yeah. And what do you think that comes from, though? They've got everything. So technically...
Because it goes back to what we said. Is that what they were meant to be doing?
Yeah.
What was the thing what was bypassed through the striving? So, and, I think about this as in all of us. I got really lucky, and I keep saying that my sister gave me this massive luck of exposing this area that I would never have imagined. I was going to be a community pharmacist like my dad. I would never have imagined that I would have ever, because I'm the last person, ask anyone in my school, that would have become a scientist.
I think they thought the same thing about what I'm doing now too.
Exactly. And I'm thriving. I feel like I'm thriving. I mean, I have all the normal things. Thriving doesn't mean being happy and all of these things every day. It means, in my world, thriving minds means that you've come here, you've found something to allow you to learn and fulfill some potential and do your work here that you're meant to be doing, and walking a path that you can't get off because somehow this is what you're meant to be doing. And you don't feel like you're working at all. And it's really hard to describe to people, because people think, why are you still working and things like that? But it's not. It's just part of who you are. And I feel like that's such a massive gift. And so when I think about this, I think like that. And I think it comes through, and all of us have this potential. It's just that some people just don't get the conditions around them to allow it to be shown. And then you get these other things where the society is saying you need a big house, a big car, you need to be at this school, you need to go to that career. And then the kids are getting primed from in the womb now to do that, to survive. That's because parents are worried that they're not going to make it. So I understand it. But in the meantime, what I see is a sculpting down of their potential. And then so they're doing all the stuff and they're getting all the stuff, but they're empty. And that's what when I'm talking about thriving. And such a great question, Vicky, because many people ask that, but that's something I really think about all the time.
Yeah. And I guess that's the catalyst of your podcast too, Thriving Minds.
It is. Well, actually, no. Oh. My podcast was actually called something else. It was called Shining Mind, because I was trying to shine the light on the beauty inside people. And then when I got married, my husband said that name doesn't make sense, Selena. People want to be thriving. And I went, okay. And so I did.
Yeah, but people shine when they do thrive, right?
No, exactly. So it does make sense. And a lot of people use thriving minds everywhere. So I guess that was right. So, but I do think since that time in my books and everything, I've been thinking about that actual question you asked me. And that I wrote being seen, because everyone wants to be thriving in their life. And that comes through and helping their children thrive and have thriving lives. And that being seen part, just that love and attention, that they feel like they matter, they've got someone that cares about them, no matter what they do. Meaning, like if they're not a lawyer, but they're a dancer, or
it's unconditional, basically.
It's unconditional, and it is difficult in a society that tells you that that's going to be failure. It's very hard. And
absolutely, because at the end of the day, it comes down to, as you mentioned earlier, and I believe, the simplicity of being kind and let just kids be kids and people be people, and, you'll see their potential.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes such a better place. When it's just a bit sad that that the technology is dividing us when we weren't as divided before. And I think part of the strategy of us moving forward is to bridge the gap. And I think that's what kindness allows us to do, and bringing community back together. So having events that bring people together, I think, is really important. Being face-to-face really matters. All of these different components, I think we need to work on doing all of that again. I think I see a hunger for that, because you see people showing up to events, don't you? Like,
that's true. And they want to know, but then they don't want to know. But there's always that curiosity. And I really think, you should be curious.
Yeah. So it will happen with love. And I see so much transformation inside people once they see that you know who they are, and that you can talk to them, meet people where they are, no matter what. And everyone wants to be seen.
That's true. And speaking of being seen, did you want to talk a little bit about your documentary?
Yeah.
And the book, because I've been listening to the audio book on Spotify. But yeah, if you just want to expand on that a little bit.
So the book happened, and it has the screen on the cover, because in 2023, July, I was writing a book around, it hadn't been called Being Seen yet, but I thought I needed a book around my work. And so I was writing that, and I couldn't quite find a structure. And then all of a sudden I talked to a police officer who was telling me that the online child exploitation had become exponential and was outside all our control. This is in 2023.
Wow.
Before the social media legislation and all of that. And I'm just like, oh my God, what are we doing? We're not doing anything. But there's no billboards, there's no ads on TV, there's no knowledge. I'm seeing 9-month-old babies with phones in prams. And
I know, I've seen a lot of that. Wow.
Yeah, and they're building prams with iPad holders and stuff. I'm like, no, that really affects brain development. And so I end up pivoting my book to just focus on the screen part, and called it Being Seen, because being seen by someone that loves you is the optimal thing for brain health and fitness. But now we've got a screen between us and the people we love, and that's going to really have a detrimental effect. So, and as you won't know yet, but you might know, my book I'm also called Seen. My nickname is Seen, and my grandmother rocked me to sleep between 0 and 3, and not my sister. And so that's a big difference that split our journeys, basically. So there's a double meaning behind all of it. And then Sam Jockle, who's an executive producer and CEO of Parent TV, we met at an event, as all these things line up, a Correlus event, and I told about my book. And then she said, I'm making a documentary about parenting. She was at Parent TV. And then she basically filmed me, and then got a sizzle reel, and ended up getting the whole thing funded by this amazing woman on the Gold Coast. And then they said, can we use your name of your book for the film? And so that's how that happened.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and the documentary is really extraordinarily well done. It won at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. It got selected for Melbourne Film Festival. And it takes 4 amazing parents scattered with all these experts. I'm one of the experts around the neuroscience. These parents share their vulnerable journeys around what they became aware of in themselves and from their childhood and previous generations, and how that was now impacting their own children. And each of them came to this realization differently.
Mm.
And they each went on a change journey using different tools and technologies, whether it was circle of security, whether it was CBT, whether it was just waking up and talking to somebody else. And Joe Williams, who then two of them are football players, and Joe Williams' children came on to this film, and just amazing. And it ended up being the father's story that really stuck out for me. But it's been seen, it was shown all around Australia. You can get it on Apple pay per view now, I believe. And I cry more now than when I first saw it. And I'm just so grateful to the parents that were willing to come out like that and share their stories to help other people. I thought that was so beautiful and powerful. And basically it's called Seen, and it really is that.
I guess that's the takeaway, isn't it? To be seen.
Yeah, it's to be seen, but you can't see your children if you've never been seen, or you're having all of these things that have happened that you're then taking out on people around you without you even being aware of that,
But you also have to be, I think, willing to change. We spoke about neuroplasticity earlier and the brain changing, positive from negative, if you can, to positive, these synapses. But you've also, I think, got to be willing to do the work.
Well, you do, but I also would add that, and I agree with you, I just think we as a society and a community have a responsibility to
absolutely
make the conditions a bit easier for people to be able to invoke some of this. Because if you're in a food desert right now, or if you're really struggling just to pay your next bill, it's very hard to do the work we're talking about, because
absolutely, definitely
security. And do you know what I learned? 1 in 3 Australians have food insecurity. 1 in 5 have severe food insecurity.
Wow. Yeah.
And other places I've been working, some places are getting a DV call out every second of every day. The police having to respond to.
Yeah.
And this is related to drugs, gambling, and alcohol. As you know, that we have a very strong, as you're seeing in Four Corners and other things, we have a very drug culture.
I guess for me, I was talking from the perspective of taking all those things out of the equation. But you're right. If you're struggling with paying rent, bills and stuff like that, you can't do it on your own. I mean, I don't think anyone can really do it on their own.
Yeah. So this is where I think we need to work together. As I said to you, I think the solution lies a bit bigger, higher level at the community gardens. Families really need support. They're not getting it. There's a lot of single families.
Yes.
There's so many factors, and that's why I kept bringing it back to the fact that we won't deal with the actual root causes. And there's some places where 5 generations of people have never worked. So as you know, with mirror neurons, so you copy what you've been shown, basically.
Well, exactly,
just simply copy. So these are wicked problems, but there's totally solutions for it. And neuroplasticity is one way to access and know that we can change and we can help people do that. But I think at the highest level too, I've come to see that we are all on a journey. And that's why I guess I said to you in a way, you said to me, what should we do about brain health and fitness? And I've come to this conclusion that it's more kindness, like because of the ripple effects of kindness. So that, by being a little bit kind, maybe other things might happen that allow someone to pay a bill, or allow someone that has a lot of money to be more generous, or, all sorts of different factors.
That's right. Different things can happen. And in someone's brain. Exactly right.
And then maybe it comes easier to go, oh, well, they actually care for me. Oh, well, maybe I will go down that way, because in some cases people are on drugs for a reason.
That's right. That's exactly right. You don't just wake up one day and go, I'm going to be on drugs today. Obviously environment, circumstances exactly affect that. On that note, what excites you most about the future of neuroscience?
Oh, then it's brilliant. The whole field just totally
Yeah.
revolutionized because, okay, the good side of AI technology is the analysis and the components, and like as you know, they just were able to solve 200 million protein folding structures, where in the past one would take us 5 years.
It's certainly come a long way. Yeah.
No, that happened in like a year, and he won a Nobel Prize. The guy from DeepMind, who's underneath the Gemini LLM.
Okay.
So if you're using the tools, you know the power. It's a really new world in terms of what we can actually physically do and understand. And so because of neuroscience, now we have technology where we can measure the interaction between us. And that's why I keep saying that it is, and we're also measuring all sorts of other things like near-death experiences and our consciousness existing outside our brain, for example. These are all new topics that people are exploring. And I don't know if you listen to all those podcasts, read all these books, but there's a huge field out there too in the world of consciousness, and also our ability to see in the stars and galaxies. So
Yeah. That's your
like
background.
yeah, exactly. We are in a new world. And I
Mm.
think, and the hardest thing I think is to realize that science changes every day. And so people kind of latch onto an idea and they think that's the answer.
Mm.
But I think in this space, we're going to start to see that people are going to stop doing all the things that are blocking them
Yeah.
and keep, because people are reaching for things all the time. They're trying thousands of modalities when they have pure access to their own brain and mind that they could really do something with themselves, right? Which is why we have our podcast, is to democratize the information, to help people see that they can do this.
Yeah. That's
Okay?
exactly right. But people are looking in the external versus the
Yeah,
internal.
the internal is it. That's where the game is, and not from a selfish spiritual bypassing way, or I'm just going to spend the rest of my life looking after, you know what I mean? Not that
No.
way. More about a way of controlling what you're doing because you know it has a massive impact on everyone around you.
That's exactly right. Not just yourself, but everyone, because it's a domino effect.
Yeah, and that we can start to measure that now. I call it, and I wrote about this in my new book. It's called The Power Between Us.
Okay.
And my new book is focused on this very thing you're talking about. And
Yeah.
the kind of opening segment is like, as machines increase their power, we must increase our collective wisdom. And because I think that's our edge, our human edge right now, and we need to really access that so we can make sure that not too many people are left behind.
But that requires a community of people to do it together.
Yeah, but I believe in it. I believe
Yeah.
it's possible.
Oh, absolutely. And, I remember when I was first starting in the martial arts, and I certainly didn't believe in myself, but I had an instructor, I had other students there. And, while I didn't do it, they did, believed in me. And then suddenly my brain went, hang on a minute, if they believe in me, I believe in me.
Yeah.
And, you sort of pay it forward. So,
So good. And look what you're doing now to help so many people.
well, I'm definitely trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
And
are. Brilliant.
yeah, thank you. Just for the last question, what I like to do on this podcast is ask the guests, what does the boxer within mean to you personally, and what's your fight? I know we touched on it and we've spoken a bit about it, but yeah, what does the boxer within mean, and what's your fight?
I'm trying to become less boxer within me because I'm a bit too hard on myself. Like, so I went through a whole phase of neuroplasticity, meaning that I was following David Goggins, all of the big people that say you're 40%, you could do
Yeah.
40% more than you think you can. I think at some level that's good, but at some level, I think it can lead to self-harming
Mm.
in a way that you don't see it like that because you think you're just getting better and better, and it can get very selfish. So I believe the boxer within is on the part of spirituality. And what I mean by that is understanding, people call it that, but I think it's more understanding that you really impact other people. And so the boxer within really trains the mind to not express all those things onto other people. but to recognize that you can control that kind of way of being in the world. And that's really hard. I think it's really, really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to try. And so it's wrestling with yourself and being really honest and authentic with everything in your life. And I think that's really hard. For me personally, I found it really hard. Some people find it really easy, but I find this really hard. And I guess that's kind of my next level of where I've come from to and going to. And thinking about, I love learning, and I feel like I'm getting even more in love with learning the older I get, and starting to think about just doing the right thing in your life. Because, like it can come down to simple things like not going into the disability car park, not skipping through a line because you can, and meaning someone else can't. Yeah, these are really tiny things, but I think they have massive ripple effects on your character. And working on that part of is a boxer within for me, is how do I show up in my life every day with my family and other people around me and try and do better, kind of thing. And think about, as you're ending your life, for me, it always had been about no regrets.
Yeah.
But I don't think like that now. I think like I could die today. So there's no point thinking that I should have no regrets. I should be really content and peaceful with today. And then I've been reading a lot in these spaces because obviously I'm a scientist and trying to understand consciousness and the mind and the body and all of that. And when you think through those thoughts, it's like, wow, just working on being content and doing the best you can today is actually a really powerful way to be in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's funny you say that, because the older I get, I'm trying to think simplified as well. I've got mum here staying with me for the last be a month or so, since I lost my dad a couple of years ago. And it's those moments, because I was saying to a friend today, it's those moments I will not get back.
Exactly.
Of me hanging out with her, because I'm trying to write a book, not trying to make it about me writing a book about her, but it's those moments that the point is to what, I believe you're saying and what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm here with you because, and that's, my mum passed too. And I lived with her for a very short time, couple of months, when I was going after my divorce, and my kids left. And I thought, wow, I'll never get to do this again. So I watched The Bachelorette with her because she loves that. All these shows that I would never watch, instead of going to my bedroom.
I've got Greek TV at the moment, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly. And sitting there and Dad bringing up dinner for us. And I can go on and on about prioritizing these moments when it didn't suit me too in my life. But or taking Mum to the Celine Dion concert.
Oh, the best.
Things like that I never, and you probably feel this in the moment, you think I'll never get to do this again.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Exactly. I was saying that to someone today. I'm so grateful that I don't have a regular job, because I'd be missing all these hours. Yeah.
I know. And people, and it's also, we talked about love on the spectrum. Just sitting there with my daughter watching that was brilliant. I may never get to do that again.
Yeah.
And but we kind of try and go fast forward through. We try and do bigger things like go skiing overseas, or I don't know. I just feel like what I've learnt the older you get, it's actually these small, tiny moments that end up feeling so good. So, we went out to dinner for my birthday with my sister's nephew and his partner. And the next day was my birthday, and we went in to go shopping. And I needed running shoes, and he works at Foot Locker. And
good to know.
we couldn't buy the shoes from there, but because he didn't sell those brand, but we still went to see him, and that to me stood out. This is my nephew's partner, right? The fact that we would still show up and see him, you just feel how good that was for both of us.
Yeah,
and
it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's so. I can go on and on about these moments, but I've always thought about this, I guess, in
Yeah.
some ways, but it's got more powerful. It's not you're not going to remember the books, your podcasts. I mean, yes, it's really good. You've got to put out good things into the world and everything, but I can imagine, and I saw this as you probably did with your dad, sitting there with my mum when she was passing, who was she surrounded by? Like a family, and us showing the photos, chatting. The big one, Vicky, you'd love this, is my daughter. The other thing that happened, mum went into this situation while I was in Parliament House about giving my witness statement on social media. And she died 5 days later in the hospital. But I had to fly home from Canberra to the hospital.
Oh,
I know, funny, isn't it? Anyway, but my daughter said, because mum couldn't speak, but she could understand, but couldn't move her body, unfortunately. She had a major stroke at that point. And Ella said, why don't we read the texts that Bihar used to send to us across? She'd send us these texts, right? She'd send me texts like, if you're going through hell, keep going. My job is when we're 10, my job is to make you financially independent.
I remember reading that in your books as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so she was doing this to Ella, it turns out, and to others, Nina, my other sister. And so Ella said, let's collect them all and read them across her bed.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, wow, that was so brilliant. And so we did that. And then we collected, a bunch of her photos, but you don't ever forget those times, do you?
No.
You think about yourself, and isn't that what you want in some way? Even if you don't have a family, just to have someone, it just needs to be one person.
Exactly.
Anyone feel bad that they may not have that, because a lot of people don't too.
Don't, yeah.
But I'm not saying we always did,
No.
And that's the other thing you come to realize, that a lot of forgiveness comes in too, doesn't it? Don't you find? I find the forgiveness part on all these relationships.
Yep.
That's been massive too, and really difficult.
And it's funny you say that, because I was talking to a friend about another friend, and I used to be quite reactive. Yeah. But she goes, you've actually changed. You're a lot more reflective now, where it doesn't, bother me as much as I guess it used to. And that must come with age, I'm guessing.
I think your brain training with the martial arts.
Yeah.
That really improves executive function, which gives you self-regulation too.
Yeah.
Networks. So if we this is the other thing, unfortunately, we can't, I think we will be able to, is image people's brains to show them the change.
I would love that. I've often thought about that, having someone who had, mental health issues, get them doing some martial arts, boxing, whatever, and then looking at their scan, a before and after. I'd love to see what the difference would be.
Yeah, and they've done that for meditation in Sarah Laser's work in Yale. Wasn't highly powered, but they did it for Buddhist monks. I don't know if you've seen that work.
No, but
the ones that have meditated, 40,000 hours on mountains, and others, they flew them. Richard Davidson flew them to the US and imaged their brains.
Yeah.
And in the scanner, if they're given a really loud noise, they don't react. So they've trained down that fear reaction that we have. Yeah. So they're published papers looking inside scanners. But for a more consumer oriented, I always thought about, they've kind of got these headbands called Muse and other things, where they show people their brain waves while they're breathing and things like that. But I just feel like that technology will probably come, because I think that'll be the change, because when you're at the gym, you're doing your arm movements, you can see the muscles changing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We could talk about this for ages, but I will have to bring it to an end. Thank you so very much for coming on to the podcast and sharing your knowledge and wisdom and everything in between. So thanks very much.
You're welcome. I hope there was some wisdom in there.
There certainly was. Like I said, we could talk for hours, but I'm looking at the time going, this poor woman's probably got stuff to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Good luck with your podcast.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, for having